Welcome to the new moon in Libra. The new moon in Libra always marks the specific halfway point through the year from the astrological perspective. Of course, the equinoxes also mark the beginning and the midpoint in the year, but when we're looking at it from an astrological perspective, we really look to the new moon in Aries as the formal beginning of the lunar new year and the new moon in Libra as the official midpoint of that lunar new year cycle. So that is where we're at today. And traditionally, the new moon in Libra, because it is the halfway point in the year, represents the full moon phase of the year when things are coming into full fruition, full exposure, and when they're coming to their climax point, essentially, in the context of what began with the new moon in Aries. But this year, with the energetics present for this new moon in Libra today, it is really taking this climax energy that is always present at this time of year up to a whole nother level of intensity, and I am about to talk all about it. Welcome back to my channel, everybody. Today is Wednesday, October 6th. 2021, and this is my report for the new moon in Libra that we have going on today. This new moon will come in exact to the minute at 7:03 a.m. Eastern time. It is going to be happening exactly at 13 degrees and 25 minutes of Libra. For those of you who are new to my channel, welcome. For those of you who are unfamiliar, I just want to go ahead and say this right up front to get it out of the way. If you're not familiar with the Sabian Symbols, what they are is a group of symbols that represent each and every one of the 360 degrees of the zodiac. Whenever a planet is at a specific point, making an aspect, discharging a specific degree, we can look to the symbol, read the symbol, and it gives us more information in terms of the underlying purpose for that specific aspect in the context of all of the other aspects that are constantly unfolding, this grand unfolding cosmic saga that we are constantly immersed in, that's moving us through time and space, and right now is moving us swiftly in the direction of the age of Aquarius and the transformation of paradigms from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. So that is what the Sabian symbols are. I'm going to be referencing them in this report, and I always like to use them in my astrological analysis because they just give us more information about why any specific aspect is occurring. So when you hear me talking about the Sabian symbol for a specific degree, that is what I'm referencing. So let's jump into the energetics for today. That being said, and let's talk about what we can expect with this new moon cycle. First things first, let's sort of just think about the new moon in Libra generally. Now, we're talking about the sign of Libra. This is ruled by Venus. Venus and Libra have a lot to do with relationships, finances, partnerships of all kinds, socializing, connecting, and sharing with others, things of true value to us. And it's really about balancing things generally, a weighing of the scales, rectifying things in alignment with justice and righteousness, and a return to balance, a return to harmony, a return to peace, a return to justice in some type of a way. So usually when we are heading into a new moon in Libra, these are the themes that we can expect to be present throughout the course of this month. And of course, we are at a new moon. This is a seed planting time. This is when we set our intentions, we set our goals, we set our wishes, and we initiate any type of manifestation techniques that we like to use in order to grow our intentions throughout the course of that cycle and to see them flourish and bloom and come into their full potential. And then we can, use them for whatever our purposes are. And then as we move into the next cycle, we release what we no longer need and get ready to start growing something new again. And, generally in a new moon in Libra cycle, the cycle has a lot to do with the themes of balance, relationships, harmony, finances, comfort, security, and relationships, like I said, like interacting and socializing with others. That is usually the type of thing that is growing and flourishing under these energetics under this new moon. But because of the aspects that are at play this cycle, we are still likely to see a rectification going on in terms of a rebalancing of things happening in relationships, in finances, and in partnerships and stuff like that. But this cycle, this new moon in Libra cycle, is marked by an exact conjunction to Mars. The sun and the moon come together, and that is what makes the new moon. And this cycle, they are coming together at the same exact degree where Mars is currently as well. So while these cycles are generally about creating peace and balance in relationships and financial circumstances, as well as balancing things out, this new moon in Libra this year just may not be exactly that way. Now, like I said, it is leading to this rebalancing effect, to this return to justice effect. But because of Mars being very present for this new moon, it is likely to be happening through conflict or intensity or people fighting generally for what they love and what they truly value. We're likely to see some really big relationship and financial upheavals this cycle. Now, let's think about Mars in a conjunction to the sun and to the moon for this new moon cycle. And also, you guys, whatever energy, because it is the seed planting phase of the month, whatever energy is present at the moment of the new moon is really the energetic that is carrying us through that month. That is the underlying energetic tone that is sort of coloring everything as we go through this cycle. And with it being in a conjunction to Mars, this is just really increasing energy levels, high intensity, high passion, high motivation, high willpower, high levels of action, initiative, aggression, and also assertiveness. Generally, we can expect to see alongside the whatever is transpiring this month. And again, because this is happening in the sign of Libra, this could lead to a lot of conflict, upheaval, tension, outburst, aggression in relationships or financial upheavals going on, really an unpredictable and unsettling energy that we could see affecting all of the Venus themes in our lives personally and collectively this month. But this is happening for a very specific reason. And that reason is very clear. And that reason is because universe is trying to shake us out of situations that are no longer in alignment with our deep, true, authentic, heart-based values. This cycle is marking a return to the truth in terms of what we really value and what we really love. And any relationships, partnerships, financial circumstances that are out of alignment with that have to be removed in some type of a way. And with Mars being the foundational energy for this new moon cycle, it could be in terms of fights, conflicts, eruptions, battles, rash, impulsive actions being taken, and things along those lines. Just, an explosion of some type. This is very explosive energy, but it is happening for the purpose of righting things. Now, another interesting thing about this cycle, while we have Mars in the exact conjunction to the new moon, we also have Venus, ruler of this current Libra cycle. Venus rules Libra in the very end of Scorpio at 29 degrees of Scorpio, and Scorpio is ruled by Mars. Right now, and for the past few weeks, we have had a mutual reception going on between Mars and Venus. They are both in each other's signs. Mars is in Libra, Venus's sign. Venus is in Scorpio, Mars's sign. So where traditionally the Libra cycles are very Venusian in their energetic imprint, this cycle, this Libra cycle, is actually a very blended energetic dynamic that is going on between Mars and Venus. They are in each other's signs. Their energetics are very intertwined, interweaved, blended, integrated right now. And so instead of just being this cycle ruled by Venus, this cycle is actually simultaneously sort of being ruled by Mars. And things, like I said, are being rectified this cycle for us through Strategy is another major theme that we may see coming up, or we may be experiencing in our lives as this is going on, as the sun in a conjunction to Mars brings a much more strategic way of like operating energy, because Mars is invisible and hidden in the rays of the sun. You can't see the action going on by Mars, and so it brings this strategic feel to it as well. And so that is another, another indication of how these energetics might be playing out. But, we have this mutual reception going on, and we have to keep in mind that this is part of this alignment that is actually helping us to come back into our power. Now, if you've been following my work for, a while, you know that really this year and heading into 2022 has a lot to do with Venus and Mars, the divine feminine, the divine masculine, and this reintegration process that is going on within all of us, as both of these planets are on a trajectory to meet Pluto together at the same degree in March of 2022. And this is really going to be a point in time when we are all really coming back into wholeness and standing in our power again. And this new moon is a fundamental part of that process, as Venus and Mars are both sort of co-ruling this cycle together through the blending of their energy. And it has a lot to do with us coming back into our power and fighting back against things that are no longer good for us, that are no longer in alignment with that true, authentic, deep, internal, heart-based value. So we're really fighting back against a lot of things this cycle as well. And there's another aspect to this new moon that is actually exact. It's a minor aspect, but just because of the context of what's going on, I feel like this is also significant and relevant in this energetic that is present for this new moon that's going to be carrying us throughout this next few weeks. And that is that we have Uranus at 14 degrees of Taurus, also in Venus's sign, making an exact quincunx to that new moon at 14 degrees in Libra. Both of these planets are in Venus's sign. They're at the same degree, and they're forming a quincunx aspect. And this is probably going to add even more tension, even more lack of predictability to this energy, shocks and surprises, things happening out of the blue that you never would have expected, and even more like volatility and combustion and like dynamism included in the energies this month. But Uranus is the planet that rules the age of Aquarius and the trajectory that we're on. And Uranus is also the galactic fixer. Uranus always puts things right. Uranus is the great rectifier, the silver lining planet. And whenever Uranus is involved, we know that things are being righted in some type of a way. And so even though we do have Uranus making this quincunx aspect to, exact to Mars, the moon, and the sun for the new moon in Libra today, and it probably is going to be disturbing the peace. I mean, really, that is what this is doing. Libra rules peace. The sun, Mars, and the moon all in Libra together for the new moon. This is really disturbing the peace and making this exact aspect to Uranus. This is bringing it up even another notch, but it's Uranus. So we know that these changes are pushing for alignment with genuine truth, genuine authenticity, and again, the things that we truly hold in our heart and deeply value. That is what is being rectified, and everything in our lives that is out of alignment with that may undergo some type of destruction this cycle, as we step out of the chains that have been binding us and embrace a new path forward that is so much more in alignment with what will bring us ultimate fulfillment and the ability to truly come into our potential and to become so self-empowered and really the masters of our lives and our experience and our reality, and give us this ability to co-create with universe in a true Aquarian fashion, which is the trajectory that we're all heading as we transition ages from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. So this month, this cycle, regardless of what happens, regardless of how uncomfortable it is, regardless of how difficult it is, everything that is happening for some type of great rectification that is going on personally on the microcosm and collectively on the macrocosm. So we need to stay out of fear with this. And no matter what happens, we need to be able to fall back on the faith that this is a silver lining. And it may appear not to be, a great thing that is happening at the time. But when we look back on this in the future, when the cards have fallen and things have settled down and we can see the bigger picture, what is transpiring now will ultimately have been a blessing in disguise. So we have to keep that in mind as well. The next thing that we have going on in correspondence to this new moon today is another aspect that is really talking about us breaking through, breaking free, stepping into our truth. And that is that today, while we have the sun and the moon and Mars in a conjunction, in a quincunx to Uranus for this new moon, we also have Mercury, who rules the mind, our thought processes, our communications, the media. At 21 degrees of Libra, again in Libra, Mercury is actually retrograding right now back to meet Mars and the sun. And this is going to be happening later this week too. So I think that later this week, as this energies unfold, there will be a lot of truth bombs coming out. But with Mercury at 21 degrees of Libra for this new moon today, it means that Mercury is in an exact opposition to the Eris point. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with the Eris point, this degree is 21 degrees of Aries. This is the degree in the sky where the planet Eris was originally discovered, and it really rules. It is the ultimate in the break the chains energy. It rules rebellion and liberation and, just totally revolting against anything that is out of alignment with truth, integrity, and authenticity. The Eris energetic, the Eris point really resonates, in my opinion, a lot to the Uranian and Aquarian frequencies, because it really is all about throwing the apple of discord, making a splash, foregoing what the consequences might be for the need to really speak the truth and get the truth out there. And with Mercury ruling the mind, communication, thought patterns, speech, in an opposition to the Eris point today for this new moon, while we have the sun, the moon, and Mars in an exact conjunction in that aspect to Uranus, this is definitely breaking out of any type of mental prison that we've been in, speaking the truth, mental rebellion, mental liberation. And like I said, people, we may see some really strange or unexpected headlines or things in the media with this as well that are leaning more towards the side of truth. Truth is breaking free. Information is breaking free with this aspect. And this cycle, as this unfolds, and like I said, Mercury comes back to meet Mars as well, we might see some really big explosions of some information this cycle. And remember, Mercury is also in a trine to Jupiter. Jupiter rules truth, and Jupiter expands things and blows things up. So we are heading into a cycle that is probably going to be marked by some significant revelations. They may not be comfortable, but they're going to be very liberating to the mind in a lot of ways. And again, this, because it's in Libra, is likely to have something to do with restoring balance in some type of a way, or also in regards to finances, economies, partnerships, relationships, justice generally, and stuff like that. So another big aspect happening alongside this new moon that is really talking about standing up, speaking truth, fighting back. There is a lot of fighting back, fighting for our rights, fighting for justice and truth energy that is coming with this new moon in Libra cycle. Now, the next thing that I want to do is move on to talking about the Sabian symbols that are being activated, that are in effect for this new moon today, because they're giving us even more advice and a greater indication and more clarity about what we need to do to get through this cycle and what is like the actual purpose for this energetic that's unfolding right now. And first of all, 14 degrees of Libra, where the new moon is occurring. Now remember, it's actually happening at 13 degrees and 25 minutes, but when we read the Sabian symbols, we always round up a degree because energy moves in waves, and by the time that a specific degree is being discharged, energetically, we're already picking up on the influences of the incoming degree. So we look to the next degree to really interpret the incoming energetic wave that we're picking up and that's coming in right now. So we always round up a degree. So I'm looking at 14 degrees of Libra for the degree of the new moon according to the Sabian symbols. And that degree is in the heat of the noon hour, a man takes a siesta. And honestly, like, you know, at first like glance, it may not strike you this way, but you know, after you think about it for a minute, this specific degree is actually summing up the energetics of the new moon like so concisely. In the heat, Mars always brings the heat. Mars is the hot planet. Mars rules heat. In the heat of the noon hour, this is when the sun is shining the fullest. This is the fullest strength of the sun. So right there in the heat, Mars, of the noon hour, sun, a man takes a siesta, the moon. He takes a sleep. He takes a rest. He goes to visit the dream world. He's associating with the moon. So this degree is encapsulating the whole story that is happening with this new moon in conjunction to Mars. And it's also telling us that we really need to channel our energy into acting Mars on growing the sun, our dreams, the moon, and the siesta into reality this month. And if you've been following along with my reports over the past couple weeks, you know that last week we actually had a really major window period that was really universe supporting us and helping us to ground our dreams into reality, to manifest our dreams into reality. And now here we are at the new moon, and this is very much talking about this same type of thing. The way that I see it, it's like when it gets too intense, and it will, when it gets too hot, with with the heat, with all of this going on, we need to retreat into aligning with our spiritual ideals and the deep desires we are working on creating, you know, in our heart. We need to fall back into our dreams. When the tension is getting too high, when the heat is turning up too much, when we don't want to stand in the sun, the heat of this intensity anymore, we need to retreat back into our dreams. We need to reconnect with our spiritual ideals and what we truly want for our life, and to fall back into that and to disconnect from whatever conflict or intensity or pressure or heat we feel like is being pushed on us, okay? When it gets too heated, retreat to your internal happy place, the dreams and wishes you are aligning with, and your spiritual guidance. Or this could also be telling us, take a literal nap. If things get too intense, if things get too heated, if you start feeling out of control, step back, meditate, take some deep breaths, or literally take a nap this cycle and reconnect to the dream space, to your intuition, to just a calmer place. And this is actually where we need to be channeling our energy instead of, potentially exploding like all over the place because we just can't take the heat anymore. So something to keep in mind, okay? Also today, there are two Sabian symbols referencing beaches specifically. We have Mercury today at 21 degrees of Libra opposite the Eris point, and that Sabian symbol is a crowd upon a beach. And then we also have Uranus today, also in this mix at 14 degrees of Taurus at the beach. Children play while shellfish grope at the seashore. And so again, this is still like talking about like the heat of the sun. And these two Sabians referencing beaches, speaking about, like I said, that heat of that noon hour. And also though, it's like the collective wants to stand in the sun. Like we want to be in the light. We want to be, there is an aspect of us that really needs this heated, intensified, action-based atmosphere right now. Like people are sort of gathering together in this heat under the sun. And also, though, on the flip side of that, you know, the sun, this also represents the light. And so to me, symbolically, this is also saying that people want to be in the light. We are seeing the light and gathering there mentally now, where Mercury is, in terms of what we're learning. Also, remember Mercury in the trine to Jupiter, it's like we're seeing the light. And that is the direction that we're headed. That is where we're sort of like conglomerating this month on that beach, under the sun, in the light, especially on a mental level with Mercury there. And then with Uranus at the degree about the beach as well, this is rectifications happening to restore inner light, inner peace, and the inner child as well, which is a very fundamental part of our return to authentic value, authentic truth, and aligning with our deep desires, which is actually the underlying purpose of this cycle, which I've said, you know, a couple times already, and I will continue to emphasize as I go through this report. But you know, that sun is hot and that sun is intense, and it's up to us whether we want to act on it and assert ourselves if we need to do that, or whether we want to retreat and take a nap and really reacquaint ourselves with that spiritual alignment that is connecting us to the things that we want to manifest in our lives, the dream that we want to ground into reality going forward. But there is another side of this energy as well, and I mean, this is always going to be the case when it's in a conjunction with Mars. There is a threat present this month, seen or unseen. We have to be somewhat strategic in what we choose to either walk away from or engage in battle with. We need to stop playing games this cycle. And we also may be in for some type of a fight in some way, or just generally need to defend ourselves from something. There are a lot of Sabian symbols activated today that are talking about this. Number one, we have the Earth today, which is always in a why can't I think of the word? A direct polar opposition to the sun, in alignment with the Earth, in alignment with Mars today. So this is a very important polarity point today, 14 degrees of Aries. And this Sabian symbol is a serpent coiling near a man and a woman. So this is talking about hidden threats. Although, you know, on the flip side, it's also potent healing and wisdom. But we do have that. We also have Venus at 29 degrees of Scorpio. And this is a very important energetic, the placement of Venus today, because she is the ruler of this cycle. And what she's doing and what she is talking about today is fundamental in the purpose behind these energetic activations that are happening in her cycle this month. And she is at 29 degrees of Scorpio at the moment of this new moon. And that degree is an Indian woman pleading to the chief for the lives of her children. We also have Jupiter at 23 degrees Aquarius, a big bear sitting down, waving all its paws in defense of something. We also have the ruler of a nation, the degree of 11 Aries, where Chiron is right now. Remember, this new moon is also in an opposition to Chiron. And so the Chiron themes, the wounded healer teacher archetypes, are very present as well. And I'll talk more about that in just a minute. But we also have the black moon at 9 degrees of Gemini, a quiver filled with arrows. So all of these degrees are sort of talking about a threat or a hidden threat, or needing to defend yourself against something. And themes, you know, so, and we already know this though, because this new moon is in a conjunction to Mars, and Mars is the fight, the war, the battle, defending, you know, protecting, courage, strength as well. So threats, seen or unseen, may be something that we're dealing with individually and collectively as we go through this cycle, and we just need to be aware of that. But that doesn't mean that we feed that. That doesn't mean that we engage it. Really, remember, our guidance and our advice this cycle is to make sure that we are still aligning with our dreams and with our spiritual guidance and with our faith, and not getting so sucked into the conflict that we're sabotaging ourselves and our creative process that we're on, in alignment with our intuition right now, because that is really what is paving our way going forward, that alignment. And that is what this is trying to get us to connect with as well. Now, there are themes also this month of defending and protecting children this cycle. Remember, Venus is at the degree 29 Scorpio. Venus rules this cycle. So her being at this degree is substantial and significantly important. An Indian woman pleading to the chief for the lives of her children. There is something big about defending children this cycle that is going to be very relevant. Also, like I said, Chiron is in opposition to this this conjunction of planets for the new moon in Libra today. Chiron rules early childhood wounding, the inner child, so children, inner child healing, protecting and defending innocence, potentially from the state as well, with Chiron at ruler of a nation. Like, this is something that we're going to be dealing with this month. We also need to watch for very, very volatile markets, economies, issues with resources, supply chains, finances generally. We could see some very combustible, dynamic, volatile changes happening in everything that brings us comfort, essentially, like supply chains, resources, financial and economic conditions, stuff like that, because Uranus and Taurus is activating. That is what that does. And also all of this energy in Libra as well. So we have to keep that in mind too, just a bumpy ride this month. Next, the last thing I want to mention, we have the Nakshatra. According to the Vedic system, I always like to look at Nakshatras, and Nakshatras are essentially signs broken down into sub-signs that are called nakshatras, and they're just much more specific. So I'm going to jump over to Vedic astrology real quick and just talk about the fact that this new moon is happening in the sign or the nakshatra of Hasta, which is represented by the hand. And so people are going to be defending what they hold very close to them this cycle as well, and specifically in terms of, again, these deeply held values. This is being indicated another way through a whole nother system. Fighting for our values and wanting to hold on to them with this happening in Hasta, the nakshatra ruled by the hand. And again, with Venus and Mars very intertwined energetically this cycle in mutual reception, fighting for love, fighting for values, fighting for justice, fighting for also connection and social interaction, Libra, and just what we hold dear, fighting for what we hold truly dear in the deep recesses of our heart. So that is generally overall what we're looking at in terms of the energetics this cycle. Now, I also drew a couple tarot cards to talk about this cycle, you guys. We have the moon that came up, again, referencing this new moon, telling us we need to follow our intuition. And when things get too heated, we need to take a break, meditate, dream, rest, and really connect to that energy of bringing our dreams into reality. Because at the back of the deck, we had the Page of Pentacles, starting a brand new creative pursuit. And then that card actually fell off, and behind it is the Queen of Pentacles that will take us into material abundance, and that will really bring us the ultimate in satisfaction, fulfillment, and abundance. So that is what the cards are saying. That is what the stars are saying. Very heated, intense, explosive period. If it gets too much, take a nap, retreat back into your inner vision of what you want your life to look like going forward. But we're standing